Science knowledge only adds to the excitement, the mystery, and the awe of a flower.
Evidence is evidence. It's public. Everybody can look at the evidence and assess it, and eventually, if there's enough evidence, come to the same conclusion.
For newcomers and old-timers alike, the Chloe Sanctuary hopes to give you insight into the health and happiness of your companion parrots. We hope to help you build happy homes using reliable and proven tools. The best homes are built on a rock-solid foundation. And the best foundation for a happy home is the bedrock of science. When we stand on the shoulders of giants, the scientists who have worked long and diligently to understand our companions, we can reach new heights of understanding. And understanding is the key to success.
I think treated, most of these birds have a good prognosis, and I would say in...
What does avian veterinary medicine have to tell us about our feathered friends? How can we prevent illness, see the signs of disease before it's too late, and care for our birds through ill health? What light does behavioral science shed on their nature, needs, and hopes? How can the tools of behavior shaping make our homes happier for us and our companions?
Shake.
How can we deal with biting, screaming, or other misbehavior? What is it like to live among parrots? Let them roam around about you and share a life with them. How much freedom do you give them? What happens if you form a bond of trust with them? Watch and see what understanding their true nature can do for you. Come with us on a journey as we do more than examine a parrot's world. We live in it. Make some popcorn and bring in a few wood blocks. Let everyone have something to chew and a comfortable place to perch. Cockatude is a presentation of the Chloe Sanctuary for Parrots and Cockatoos, a nonprofit charity dedicated to the empowerment of captive parrots and public awareness.
Hi, this is Don, the producer and director of Cockatude, Cockatoos with Attitude. I'm making a plea today. If you can afford a coffee at Starbucks once or twice a week without having to worry about you have enough money in your pocket or enough money in your purse, I would urge you to please give us at least $1 an episode. It's wonderful that we have YouTube and other platforms where we can produce our videos and place them online, but unlike with the... I know, Pippa. Unlike with the major broadcasters, all the networks that get advertising money, we have to live by asking for help. So if you can do that, if you can afford a coffee every week at Starbucks, then consider giving us $1 an episode. Now, if you can't do that, if money is really that tight, don't worry about it. We're not concerned about you. We want this to get out to as many people as we possibly can get it out to. That's why we're keeping it free. But in order to keep it free, we need the help of people who can afford to help us. So, please, Peppa, what do you have to say? See, Peppa agrees. Enjoy our video.
Hi, and welcome to Cockatude, Cockatoos with Attitude. That's right, Pippa. Episode 78. More patron questions. Yay! Yeah, they love their aviary, and they're having a good time. The only problem today is we have a military base next to us, with the humidity at about 8% and weather warnings of high wind. They decide to do a controlled burn, which means it's smoky outside, so they didn't get to go into the aviary today. Yeah. That's the way it goes sometimes, though, huh, kids? Well, at least they're there to protect us from who knows what, right? Right, Cecil? Today we have with us Cosmo. She is a female, but she prefers the name she was given, Cosmo, so we call her Cosmo. And this is Cecil. Cecil Bird. Hi, Cecil. And Peaches. We have Lorelei, who likes to be called Baby Girl, don't you? And Cocoa Bird. Coco, Coco Bird, and Pip, Pip, Pippa. Pip, 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 Pip. Hello, Pippa. And we have Sugar Bird, which somebody said out on YouTube that she looks like a robot when she walks. She's always done that. We're not quite sure why. It's not an effect from the Haldol, which keeps her from plucking her feathers. With or without it, she'll still walk around like a robot. Maybe we should just play that song, you know, Mr. Roboto for her. But she's not a mister. And we also have Salamander. Salamander Bird. Also called Mander. And, you know, his name actually comes from a story by E.T.A. Hoffman called The Golden Pot. One of the first stories I read in German once I could understand the language well enough to read it. And it gets really weird towards the end. But the beginning of the story, if you've ever heard the phrase knock over the apple cart, that's the story it comes from. This young student, Herr Anselmus, is hurrying. He's kind of a klutz, and he's hurrying through this market, and he bumps this apple cart and knocks all the apples down. And so he's hurrying to try to pick them up, and he's giving her what little money he has to pay for whatever damage to the apples. And as he's walking away, this old crone goes, "Into the crystal you'll fall." And after then, he starts talking to gold-green snakes. It's quite the story. But anyway, that's where he gets the name Salamander. And in the story, the salamander's in love with the fire lily. So he gets all kinds of stories like that, don't you, Sal? A little history on Sal's name. The first question from our patrons is an interesting one, in that they're wondering if birds talk using light. Now it sounds like a silly question, right? Do they use light to talk? But actually, they do. Now, we don't know so much about the umbrellas and the Moluccans and Ceram cockatoos. But the birds that are brightly colored, that look fluorescent, such as the eclectus is a good example. Even budgies, actually. What they do is they twist their feathers a little imperceptibly to us, of course, but imperceptibly. But nonetheless, when they twist their feathers just a little bit, it reflects the light differently and produces a color. Now, you might have seen these. There are some places on the web where they show animals that do this. So they use their feathers much like salamanders, like creatures that change color for effect. They do that. Now, if you have a bird that uses that, such as an eclectus, even a budgie, you're not going to see those changes. So even if it's like a blue light at Kmart blinking, or a "Hello there, little girl. Are you having fun making noise?" She goes, "I'm talking. It's not noise." I have people call it noise. It's not noise. It's talking. Right, Pippa? Except you can't say words. No, you can't say words, can you, Pip? At least I've not heard it. She does a great wolf whistle, though. So anyway, when a bird may be sitting there and telling you something and you won't see it because we don't have great eyes. Compared to them, our eyes are about the equivalent, the difference between us and a snail, okay? Our eyes are just really poor. Now, their eyes aren't good at night in the dark. Pippa. Their eyes aren't good in the dark. I preen her because she can't preen herself, okay? You'll see me preening her. This is not something you want to do with your bird. Unless you have a bird that has fused vertebrae in its neck and can't reach its own tail end, don't do this, okay? You'll see me do it in a lot of the videos, and I forget to mention, but I do it because she can't, and she's had... Be nice, Pippa. Pippa. That wasn't nice. Pippa. You be nice. Hi, Lorelei. You can come over here, Lorelei. You can come over here. Come on, Lorelei. Come on. Come on, Lorelei. Laurel, fly! Come on, Lorelai! Come on, Come on, Lorelai! Pippa, Pip. Come here. Pippa. Come here. Just, hey, watch it. Come here, Pip. Let go. She gets a hold of something, she won't let go. Let's get you over here so we can keep you a little quieter, okay? Because nobody's going to hear a word I'm saying with you going back. Well, it's okay. I like to pet you. It gives me a chance to pet your head. It does. Yeah. Now, you calm down. Don't you get aggressive. Cause gets aggressive to other birds because she's mated to me. I don't know how that happened. I haven't petted her improperly or done anything like that, but nonetheless, she gets a little protective. That's why Lorelai wouldn't come over when I called her. She'll come over normally just right away when I call, but not when Cause is there. Right, Pippa? You're going to be talkative today, aren't you, Pip? That's okay. So, there are things that they're doing which are showing us what their internal condition is, whether they're protecting their territory or if they're interested in what we're doing and they want to socialize. There are things we can't see. So yes, indeed, birds do use light. We don't know about umbrellas and we don't know about Saram cockatoos. There are a lot of birds we don't know that information on because, frankly, there's not a lot of work being done on parrots. It seems like the human race is just totally focused on primates. I don't know why. It doesn't seem like my favorite thing to study. If you ever put a primate up to your nose and taken a good whiff, dogs and cats, I love them, but they stink because they're mammals. Mammals and primates stink. Birds don't stink. Well, at least these birds don't stink. Parrots don't stink. So, and these guys are far more interesting than most mammals and most primates, but I think human beings are just far too enamored with themselves. In some ways it would be better if we weren't here. Certainly these guys would do better to be in the wild and not to be stolen out and poached and sold in China, where a lot of them are going now. But anyway, so yes, they do use light to talk, and we can't see it. Calm down. All right, sweetheart. The next question is, how do you set up an indoor cage? A number of considerations. First thing is cage type and the bird. Now, some birds, it's rare, but some birds prefer a smaller cage. Let's say a cage that's only 3 foot square. And that would be an African gray. Most birds prefer larger cages. Again, we've talked about cages before, so we talked about bar spacing, and obviously you don't want their head to be able to go through. And you got to remember, there's feathers there, so you actually have to measure the head from here to here, the actual head itself. Okay? Not the feathers. Mainly, I think the question is directed at where to place the cage. So, you want to put them in a corner, if possible, in an area where there's activity. Okay? You want to keep them away from windows, and you want to make sure that at least 2 sides of the cage are up against the wall. Now, the reason for that is it's like playing one of those first-person shooters. If you run into a room and to the middle of the room, that you can be attacked anywhere from any side. Okay, but if behind you there are 2 walls, then you can pretty much discount somebody coming through that way. And, bombs and things like that from the game, are excluded from that. But with birds, as long as they have a couple of spots where they know they're safe, then they can feel more protected. And what that will mean is when you go to reach in their cage, if you have a bird that's new to your environment or skittish, they know that they can go away from you and get close to those walls and feel safe. And it's just a way to make sure that they don't have to worry about at least two sides of their cage. It's preferable not to have a corner cage, though. You want a regular cage and put it in a corner. You don't want a corner cage. They're not good for any bird that I know of except maybe, again, an African gray. African grays like smaller spaces for some reason to live in. They don't necessarily like to stay in their cage all the time. I don't think any bird likes that. Hi, Peach. You're not going to attack him. You're not going to do it, so stop. Okay? Calm down, Kaz. I don't want to spend the whole episode holding you. She's got a thing on Cecil now, and I'm not sure what the problem is. Kaz, calm down, baby. It's all right, sweetheart. Hey, Peach. Don't you get overexcited now. The cameras, yeah, it's starting to lick my arm. We're in trouble. So you be good. You be good and leave him alone. He's a good boy. And you're a good girl, so you just sit down there, okay?
Peaches is an amazing personality. Her daily maintenance requires dedication and mindfulness. She requires 2 forms of medicine, 7-course meals, and effort to entice her to eat. Extensive preening every day, special tools to trim nails, constant attention to her vocalizations, daily walks, and twice yearly checkups due to the possibility of impacted feather follicles and the nature of her spinal injuries. It seems a common misconception among the general public that parrots are like toys in a toy box. Nothing could be further from the truth. They are complex creatures. Recently, scientific studies have shown them to be at least as intelligent as chimpanzees. Every captive parrot needs special humans who will dedicate themselves to understanding them, those who know their species as it lives in the wild. Special people that understand their social, mental, and physical needs. They need to be understood for what they are, and not as merely human companions, as circus performers to bring smiles. Peaches needs all this and more. She is our special girl. Will you help us care for Peaches? Please make a donation today at our website, chloesanctuary.org. That's spelled CHLOESANCTUARY.org. As a special thank you for your donation, we will joyfully send you a postcard with Peach's happy face.
You want them to have enough light during the day, so it's nice if they can get light from a window without actually looking out through the window. We've had hawks. In fact, this little one over here, Lorelei, which she's out of all the cameras. I don't think maybe she's picked up by that one, but I doubt it. She had a hawk come down at the window, and it spooked her. And it spooked her enough, since I didn't see the hawk until it was too late, that she associated that fear with me. And it took a while to get her to where she was comfortable with me again. And that's crazy, since she's the only bird I've actually raised from a baby. So she was 3 months when I got her, before I started the sanctuary. So in the corner, a nice light source, not in an area where people travel back and forth, because these birds don't like to be left alone, and you don't want to leave them like that. You want to have toys that are not Christmas ornaments. A toy that's a Christmas ornament is one that you chew on and nothing happens. That's toys that are made out of manzanita. That's toys that are made out of anything hard, any ironwood or anything like that, that can't be chewed up. You'll see those in pet stores because they're cheap. They can put them in there, make it look like they've given the birds toys when they haven't. and not have to pay for the replacements. Capitalism at its finest, folks. There you go, Pip. There you go, Pip. There you go. I don't know where you're going, but you're flying hard to get there. Aren't you, Pippa? Very well done, little girl. Well done. Yeah. Other things... Hey, no! We don't chew on the tripods, okay? Other things to consider as far as the placement of the cage. That it's not in an area where you're going to get odors from cooking, okay? You're not using Teflon pans, obviously. You're not using the self-cleaning feature of your oven because you'd like your birds to live. So you want to have it in an area where they're not going to be getting a lot of burning oils and things like that, which could kill them. So away from the kitchen, unless you're one of those people who cooks like I do with a pressure cooker. Mostly, I don't really have to deal with that problem. But so the main thing to remember about cage placement is in a corner, away from the windows. So they don't have something that can scare them. Enough room for them to be able to fly around in, so a big enough cage. And it's important to have the right bar spacing. And in an area where they get traffic, where they're going to be talked to and not be left alone. I'd like to do a big shout out to those people who make this video cast possible. Cockatude would not be possible without our patrons. Thank you to those of you who make one-time donations. Without these patrons giving us of their hard-earned cash, we couldn't continue doing this podcast. The next question is, what does it mean when your bird fluffs up? We call that rousing. When they get all their feathers out and shake them. It usually takes about 2 to 3 seconds, maybe 5 seconds at the most. They don't spend a lot of time doing that. And I don't think anyone knows exactly why. Would you stop that? Cause. No. Okay, hold on. Cause is leaving because she's trying to attack him. Come here. Come here. Come here. No, you gotta get up here for a second. I'm taking Cause out of the room because Cause is trying to go after. No. 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 Hey, be nice. Pippa? Pippa? No? Quit attacking other birds. Get away from her. Jeez, what are you doing? What are you doing? I walk out of the room and she starts confronting other birds. Don't do that, okay? Anyway, hi, Cecil. She's out of here now that Lorelei can come over if you want to. Hi, Cecil. FaceTime with Cecil. I brought in Lucy because If you saw the look on Cos's, hey, leave that tripod alone. If you saw that, yes, Lorelei. If you saw the look on her face, she was not going to stop trying to go after Cecil. And Cecil, you've never done anything to her. No. So, I don't have, and I could not find a professional opinion about rousing, but what it appears to be, and what I've noticed, and again, this is just a personal observation, it's anecdotal, therefore, hey, stop that. Therefore, it may not even be close, but it seems like it's a change in attitude. There he goes. That's a rouse. Okay? Now it's, hey, you need to calm down today, little girl. I don't know what you've got in your Wheaties this morning, but generally if a bird is active and they do that, they seem to become quieter, maybe sleepy after they do it. If they're sleepy and they do it, then they seem to become more active. So I see it, and again, this may be wrong, but I see it as a change in attitude. They're about to change their behavior from one state to another. Now, if you've got any other observations about rousing, please let me know, or if you can find an article on it. I did research, and there just isn't much on it. It's described, you know, the whole shaking, you know, fluffing out the feathers and shaking, but there isn't any description as to what the behavior means, what it signifies. It certainly has nothing to do with mating. It has nothing to do with aggression. So they're not aggressive. They're not trying to mate when they do it. It's easier to do the knots than it is to know exactly why they do it. What's the best way to get your birds to settle at night? I did a lot of research on this, and one of the things that I discovered is that most of the experts, the people who have... Okay, all right. She didn't want me bothering her while she was chewing on the wood. Say that putting them in a separate cage, a smaller cage, which protects their wings too, because if they're in a big cage and they get a night fright and they flap around that big cage, they can break their wings. So a smaller cage in a room, in a separate room, in the dark, okay, is the best way to get them to go to sleep. Now, since they can't see in the dark at all, you can put them in the dark and they'll go to sleep. Unfortunately, some people do this with birds. When they get noisy, during the middle of the day, they will cover them up or put them in a room and close the door and cover them up. That's not right. That's abuse. But at night, when they're supposed to go to sleep, it's the right thing to do. So put them in a separate cage. Make sure they've had their treats, too, before they go to bed. They've got their last little bit of interaction with you, and they're comfortable with going to sleep. Some birds, like Sugar, will tell you, hey, I want to be in my night cage. And she's adamant about it. It gets to be close to her, you know, sleeping time, and she's right on it. And she'll cry if she wants to go, when she wants to go to bed. And if she wants her snack, that's another thing too. Now, I've heard it a lot of different ways, but I give them a snack bowl, which has really got a lot of, you know, good stuff in it. It has their pellets, which they eat in their night area. It has a little piece of papaya, sunflower seed. Sorry, Peach. An almond, like part of an almond, that kind of thing. Hi, Lorelei. I give them about 15 minutes to munch down, then I tell them all good night, and I think it's important to say good night to them. I can stand at the door and call them by name, and they each look at me. And I make that eye contact, and that's fine. If I close the door and don't do it, they'll tend to be noisy for a little while, for maybe 5 minutes once the light's turned out. But I've said good night to all of them, they tend to be quiet. I'll see if I can find it, but I actually did a recording in their room I went in there, said goodnight to everybody, and I went over and I shut the lights off, but I didn't leave the room, and I laid down on the floor. And it's fun to listen to 12 birds all grinding their beak at the same time. Yeah, it's loud. That goes on for about 5 minutes, and then they go to sleep. So they will do that last beak grinding at night. So I think the most important thing to get your bird to sleep, the critical thing, is that they go into a separate cage in a dark room, away from all the noise and confusion. And if they're in a room where you can hear the TV pounding through the wall, that's not good for them either. So yeah, if you're going to be watching loud movies while they're trying to sleep, you're going to be disturbing their sleep to some degree. Now, they don't sleep like us. They have hemispheric sleep, which means that only one side of their brain goes to sleep at a time. So even in the middle of the night, they still have an active side of their brain, whether it's the right or left hemisphere at any given time. And that's one of the reasons they will occasionally have a night fright, because something will happen and they will think there is something like a snake in their cage, and then they will drop. That's what they do in the wild. They drop whenever they feel like they're being attacked in a tree. So they drop. So that's when they'll flop around, and usually it's a couple of hours. When you go in, you try to calm them down. You get them calmed down enough to carry them, take them out of the room with the other birds, and calm them down and talk to them. And an hour and a half, 2 hours later, they can go back in their cage. But I think having that second night cage is important, because they all know they're going there to sleep, and it's a good cue to them that it's now coming to sleep time. And people who have their birds in just one cage, you have to use other things to trigger it. Some people cover the cage. Covering a cage in the same room they normally are in, but still has a lot of noise in it, they're not going to get normal sleep that way. So if there's any way you can put them in a separate room with a small cage. Now, it doesn't have to be infinitesimally small. We're talking if they're used to being in a 4 foot by 6, a 4 foot by 3 foot cage, and you put them in a 2 by 2 cage, well, that works. Something that doesn't have that much room for them to thrash around. The next question, how long does it take to recover from feather damage? Well, that has a lot to do with how bad the damage was. Was it a mutilation? Have they been cutting their own chest? It's usually the chest that they'll cut, but not always. I know one bird, Wilhelmina, who will, she'll attack her feet. So they don't always necessarily go for their chest. But so part of that's the amount of the damage. Now, if the follicles are seriously damaged, they may never get their feathers back. Sugar had severely damaged follicles, and Dr. Loudis in Encinitas at All Pets had read and tried on a couple of other birds large doses of meloxicam, also called Metacam. That's the brand name, one's the actual chemical name, on a 21-day schedule twice a day, which there have been some worries that could cause liver damage, but they tested that out in England, and I actually did a real clinical study. And the birds didn't have any change in their blood levels at all. They were perfectly normal after a large doses like that. So she was given 0.21 twice a day of meloxicam for 21 days. All of her feather follicles were oval and pinched off before we started this. And the feathers would come in always blood feathers, filled with blood. And every time she'd break one, she'd nearly die. So, magic. No, not magic. Science. After 21 days, her feathers started coming in normally, and you see what a beautiful girl she is now. Aren't you, Sugar? Can you flash your tail for me? Sugar, can you flash your tail? Sugar, flash tail? Sugar, flash that tail. Come on, Sugar, you can do it. You could do it. I know you can. No? No tail flash? Aw, I'm sad. Now, of course, Peaches is getting upset at me, aren't you, Peach? I'm not supposed to talk to the S bird. So, feathers can take a while. It's been a month since Salamander damaged his tail feathers. He broke them off, and I had to have Dr. Jenkins pull them out. He left 2 in there that were still damaged, waiting for the other ones to come in so that we wouldn't have all blood feathers at once. But it's been a month, and I mean, they're there. There's little stubs coming out, but it may be another month or 2 before those come back in. Each bird's a little different. In some cases, the feathers will be back in 2 weeks. And that part of that too is the type of feather. It takes longer for a primary or a secondary to come in than it does a down feather, for example, or a semi-plume. But so it depends on the bird and the condition of the follicles. Now, your avian vet is the best one to check with on the condition of follicles. If you've started your bird on a Haldol protocol and you're waiting to see those feathers come back in, could take a while. And contrary to what most people think, the birds do most of the damage to themselves. Most birds, not all, but most birds damage themselves when you're home and not paying attention to them. Not necessarily when you're gone. Okay? There are some birds that do that, but that's much less likely. So you may start your bird on Haldol and not know that your bird is damaging itself, even though it's doing it right when you're at home, because they'll do it when you're not looking. Okay? Or they'll do it, now some birds will do it to get your attention. Okay, they're not getting enough attention, so they'll do it to get your attention. And again, you're going to have to stop giving them that attention at those times. And the Haldol should slowly get rid of that behavior. So most birds that start growing their feathers back in should have them back in within a short time. That's kind of a funny looking feather there, girl, on that side again. Most birds should have their feathers back in. If they lose a feather, it should be back in within a few days. If it's a primary, it may take a little longer. It might take a week or 2 to be fully back in. Depends on the species. Depends on the condition of the follicles. It is ignorance of Bob's nature that turned Babalu into a living gargoyle. Bob's would-be parents made a hasty choice and found themselves in living hell, torn between guilt and frustration. I have seen the joy in Babalu's eyes now that he has a new life with me as his companion. To see Babalu love and trust again is worth the effort of a lifetime. But, once again, Bob is heading toward the pain of separation. My heart nearly broke the day I discovered that he was heading toward a cloacal prolapse, that his life will be cut short. To find love and acceptance and then have it stolen away from you by failing health is too much to bear. We can slow the progress of his failing health, but we can't stop it. He will need several surgeries, and eventually, Babalu will die. We want to give him the best possible life until that day. His surgeries will become progressively more expensive over time. Won't you please lend Babalu a hand and donate to his medical fund today? Our donation button is on our webpage at www.chloesanctuary.org. Just be sure to say, "For Bob," in the notes when you donate. How important is sunlight to parrots? Well, as you probably know, they live in mostly rainforests, the ones that we have in our homes. There are a few that don't, like a rock parrot, which lives in cold areas. Even though they're usually exposed in the wild to just indirect sunlight, it's essential to making vitamin D. Okay? Not that they couldn't get it as a supplement orally, but it's better if they can get the actual sunlight. So what I've had to do here with the birds is to take them out one by one, and not every day. It has to be on rotation to get a little sunlight. And with the aviary now, I can take 12 birds out at once, and that makes it a lot easier. Although they can't do that every day. Now you can get UV lamps, but it has to be the ones for birds only. Do not use anything that's meant for... Don't use anything that's meant for reptiles. And the reason for that is that it's a different type of light and it can actually blind them. I found this out from a couple that were having a problem with one of their birds, and they had done this. They had used a reptile light. They figured it out because they were smart people and brought it up to my attention so that I never would make the same mistake. They found research online. When they research, they look for DVM, okay? They don't want, Joe Blow or Jane Blow. They want DVM. You want a doctor of veterinary medicine. And that isn't, and then you want to see not just the one, but several different ones that are saying the same thing. So you're looking for corroboration, okay? And yeah, you don't want to use those. So you can set up lights and get them their UVA and UVB, which they need to make vitamin D. Best to get them outside. The last episode we did is on an outside aviary, and you can kind of see how we did it and see if that would work for you. I think the hardest part of the outside aviary was that door. There's no separate entrance to that, so when you open the door, they could just fly out, and we don't clip. And Lorelei here flies like a bat. You want to talk about somebody who can fly. This is a flying girl here. And sometimes I call her Laurel Fly because she flies so much. Right, Lorelei? Laurel Fly. This one can fly. Can't you, Lorelei? Yeah, she's a good flyer. She flies like a bat. So the thing about the outside aviary was coming up with something that would make it so they can't get out, and then that refrigerator vinyl, okay, there's a piece up at the top where you attach these big heavy pieces of vinyl, and that way when you go in and out, they're not getting out of there. So I still close the door when I go get to the next bird, because these guys are smart and they might find a way out through that vinyl, but they're not going to do it while I'm putting them in or out. So, and I also put a perch right next to the side, so when I go to take them in and out, if they're done, it's easy. They'll come over to that perch and I can take them out when I'm closing it down at night. Or when I go to load them in, I can load them in that one spot, just reach in, put them there, and then they go off into the aviary. So I did that by accident. I put that there for Peach, so Peach would have a place to sit next to me. And then she does that, but the other side of it is that it was a good thing for bringing them into the aviary, because when you got to walk in one bird at a time, 12 birds, having to get up and go through that plastic, sheet can be a pain in the rear. So this makes it so it's easy to do. Right, Peach? Right, Peach? What you doing, Peach? What you doing, Peach? You're getting too amorous now. She's got that one side that I'm trying to get those feathers down because they're bugging her, but and it's hard because that's the side where she tends to have the tender follicles. So I have to work little by little to either remove the ones that aren't going to open up or to get the sheath off the ones that are fairly new and can be fluffed out. Right, Peach? So getting that light to them is important. Now the other thing is about those lights. If you use the lights, that doesn't cast the UVA and UVB very far. So you're talking about maybe that far. 3 feet, that light's going to go. So you've got to get it close to the cage, and that makes it problematic. It's better if you can get them into a harness and take them outside. The aviator harness. I don't use any other harnesses. I don't want anything with snaps. I don't want anything that looks like a contraption. The aviator takes some getting used to. It does come with a DVD and it tells you how to use it. But you can get, and that's good. Get them. One thing I'll tell you, if you're going to use an aviator harness to get them out for their light, so they can form vitamin D and other things, I'm sure, but is once you get it on, take them immediately outside and play with them. Get them used to the idea that when that harness is on, they're going out. And once they make that association, most of these birds are right on it. It's like this guy, Cecil. He's got a friend, one of our donors. We'll tell him we're going to see so-and-so. But part of the time, when I pick him out of his cage at that time of day, it's to do his nails. So if he thinks I'm going to do his nails, he'll fight me. Because he's fine with it. It takes about 2 or 3 minutes to get him where he's at. Now once he's ready to have his nails done, he'll put his feet out and let you do them. One at a time. Okay, you're done with that one. Now I'll do this one. He's great about it. But the first thing he does is fly towards the window, fly towards the window, fly towards the floor, and eventually he just gets tired. It's one of those motivational things. If you can wear them out a little bit, then they're easier to work with. But he likes to go to see his friend. Once he knows that's where we're going, boy, he's all on it. Heading for the door. Let's move. Let's go. Gets right in the cage. Pip, 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 pippa, pip, pip, pippa, pippa, pip, 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 pippa. All tired out now, girl? You all tired out? Yeah? You done? Okay. You're quiet today. You're quiet today. Oh, Lorelei, no. She started her vibrating now. No vibrating. Come here. Come here. Come on, it's alright. Let's not vibrate. Adolescence was a tough thing for this one, wasn't it, girl? It was a tough thing for this girl. Yeah, she was a beauty, and then she started ripping her feathers out when she wasn't allowed to mate with other birds. She couldn't choose a mate. She couldn't handle it. So I had to put her on Haldol. But she's fine now, aren't you, cutie? Yeah, I know. She also had to have 1 year, second year after she became an adult, she had to have a Deslorelin implant to cut the hormones. But she's okay. She's okay now. You don't want to sit there. You want to sit next to him? Well, you can, but no. No. You're not going to go after my daughter. No, you're not. You're my little girl, but you're not going after my daughter here. My daughter Lorelei. No. You don't need to do that. No one's going to hurt you. No one's gonna hurt you. Oh, you're vibrating again. Okay, well, we gotta move you. Lorelei, why don't you say goodbye to our loyal patrons and our viewers? You can say goodbye. Lorelei, can you say goodbye? Can you say upside down bird? Upside down bird? Hi, Lorelei. That's my girl. She's even trying to vibrate there. Well, no, you're not gonna mate. Okay, guys. We'll see you next time. Okay. Alright, hold on. I'm gonna turn off all these cameras. We welcome your feedback on our videos. We look forward to your insights, tips, questions, stories, and pictures. You can email us at cockatude@chloesanctuary.org, reach us on Twitter @ChloeSanctuary, and join with us on our Facebook Chloe Sanctuary page.
Science knowledge only adds to the excitement, the mystery, and the awe of a flower.
Just a single camera, not multi-camera. Not the end of the world. I'll be back. Okay, Luz? Be nice to everybody, cause be nice. Hi, Peach. How's you doing down on the ground, Peach? It's not the end of the world. You don't have to just sit there and scream, okay? Not a requirement. Last bird. Locking the door on the last bird. Dan. Oops. Hi. What are you doing there? Hey, Coco. Go, Bob. Hi, Cuz. What's up, Lucy? You're not gonna mess with my shoes. You can come up if you want. We'll step up. Oh, come on up. Come on. You're caught on my shirt. Hi. Hi, Sal. Hi, Cecil.